Nerds, we are going to walk through how to set up your grid for your grid drawing. So your image will be printed off an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and it will have a whole bunch of squares on it and a nice even grid. And what you need to first figure out is how big your image is, because it's going to be the exact same size as your finished image. So when we measure it, it is 21 centimeters by 27 centimeters, okay? So what that means is that if it's 21 centimeters across and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares across, that means each square is 3 centimeters. And that's the same going down this way because there are 9 squares. 9 times 3 is 27. So that's the first thing that we need to know. Second thing we need to know is where we need to have our whole grid located on our paper. Notice how if I line it up in my corner, I have extra on both a side, and then if I turn it, you can see a little bit better. There's a huge extra bit on the bottom, okay? Now, what that means is that you're going to have a larger space down here. So if you get confused that it's not going to fill up the entire page, well, that's because our printed image and your paper you just got in class are not the same size, okay? So don't worry about that bit at all. And I'm going to continue having mine sideways so then you can see my drawing a whole lot better, okay? If we're going to be having 21 by 27, we first need to create sort of like a border, a little buffer zone, okay? So we're going to have like a white edging like it is on here, and that's so then we have room to put our letters and numbers to label our grid. So to start that, we're just going to make about a centimeter wide buffer, okay? Remember I said the squares are in centimeters, so we're going to be using the centimeter side of our ruler. So I have centimeters and I have inches. Centimeters is a smaller measurement, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a measurement. So I have my paper going the wide direction, and I am going to make a dash right at the 1 centimeter, okay? I'm doing that at the top as well as somewhere in the bottom, okay? You want to always have 2 measurements. So 1 in the top half, 1 in the bottom half. So then whenever you make a line with your ruler, you know that it's going straight. If I only had a line right here, I wouldn't know exactly where to put this, and it could be crooked, and I could get really close, but it's not going to be exact. So I'm going to line up my ruler on both the top and the bottom dash that I made, and this is going to create a 1-inch border on just one side, okay? Now I'm going to do the same thing on one of my long sides. I'm going to make a mark at 1 centimeter. Let's get back to my centimeter side. My ruler might be a little bit different than yours. When I have it lined up, I have it lined up right on the edge of my ruler. That's because my ruler has the 0, okay, which means the beginning of the measurements right at the edge of your ruler, okay? You might have a big space, and then your 0 is actually a little bit further from the edge. So make sure that you recognize where the 0 is before you start measuring. If you need help, please let me know, okay? I'm going to do another mark here at the bottom. Make a dash, and then I'm going to connect going all the way across, okay? Notice how I'm making sure that my ruler is lined up. Just so, I'm going to have to hold my ruler firmly. I don't want it to slide on me. And then I'm just dragging my pencil across. So then it intersects or crosses over my line that I made before and then goes all the way to the edge of my page. All right. We only need to make borders on 2 sides. So I have it across this side and this side. So 1, 2, okay? Because remember how I said that we are going to have a lot of extra on one side? If I made a 1 centimeter border here, my boxes aren't going to be right at that 3 centimeter mark. It's going to look weird. So I'm going to avoid that by just starting with the 2 sides and then continuing my measurements, okay? So I know it needs to be 21 by 27. 21 is the short side, so going this way, and 27 is the long side, so going this way. Now, to double check that I have my measurements right, instead of guessing, I'm just going to line up my ruler with the 0 on my line here, okay? See my line and my ruler where the 0 is at the edge for me. I'm going to line that right there. And then I'm going to make a dash at the 27. I'm not drawing a line, I'm making a dash. I'm making a measurement, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. Okay, starting with my ruler right at the edge, so lining up my 0 on my first line and making a dash at 27. what I'm doing is I am making sure that I'm going to be creating a line that is exactly 27 centimeters away from this line, okay, because I want it 27 centimeters across here. So then when I connect my lines all the way across, okay, I can take my ruler to double check. Yep, 27 centimeters, 27 centimeters, 27. See, I'm good. I have exactly 27 wide, and that's what I want. Okay, so 27's done, so that leaves 21. Okay, so I'm actually going to turn my paper so I can make my measurement for 21 centimeters. Once again, lining my ruler up on the 0. Okay, and then I'm going to make a dash at 21. Notice how it's pretty close to the end. Okay, so that's why it's important that we got our 1 centimeter correct here and our 1 centimeter correct on the other side. So then we are able to get our entire length of that 21 inch in there. Mark at 21. Connect my lines. There we go. Hold it firmly. And all the way across. Okay? You may notice that this space right here is just slightly bigger than this space. Okay? Your paper was not originally a 9 by 12 paper, okay? It was 12 by 18. So that means it was cut with the paper cutter. So it may not be 100% perfectly straight. So do not worry about that. What you want to worry about is whether or not you got your measurements correct. So I'm going to double check. That's 21. That's 21. 27. 27, and that's what I wanted. I wanted 21 by 27, and that's what my rectangle is, okay? So that is the first bit, okay? Now we need to figure out how to get our grid lines just like here, okay? And that's actually very simple, but also very easy to mess up, okay? And then you'd have to start this whole process over, which would be horrible, okay? And time consuming. So I know that each of my squares are going to be 3 centimeters. So I'm going to take my ruler, line it up in the corner so it's lined up on this edge and also on this edge. And I'm going to make a dash every 3 centimeters. That means that the 3, the 6, the 9, the 12, the 15, the 18, the 21, and the 24, because the 27 is where I stop. Okay, notice how my dashes are on the outside border, not on the inside where my drawing is going to be. Okay, and I'm going to do that on all the other sides as well. I have my 3 centimeter dashes all the way around on all 4 sides. Okay. And when we connect these grid lines, okay, we need to make sure our lines are light because these lines will not be staying there forever, okay? If we take a look at my reference image, okay, I don't want to have these lines going across my dude's face or in the background. They're going to be blank and empty in the end and just this one solid value, okay? So we don't want them showing. Now, the only way to make that happen is if we draw them light enough that we erase, okay? Because I'm going to do 2 lines for you here. Okay, here's me drawing a line, okay, and here's me holding my pencil so it's loose, okay, wiggle, 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 and I'm just going to set it down and lightly drag it across my paper. Okay, I'm going to show you that again. Set it down and lightly drag it across the paper. I'm not pushing, okay, I'm dragging. Notice how much lighter it is, okay, so if I try to erase this line, okay, you can still see it, can't you? Okay, and that is not cool, okay, but you can't see where my line used to be, okay, so the lighter you draw, the more easy it is to erase, okay, so it's very important that you draw nice light lines, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect each of my grid lines, making sure that I match up to the correct one. I don't want to accidentally have a grid line going sideways like this. Okay, make sure you're lining up to the correct one. And then you're going to take your pencil and drag it across to create your grid lines. I have all my grid lines done. I have them nice and light, and some of them it's like actually really hard to see them because they are so light. So that's good. That's good. Now, before I actually get started, I want to make sure I have two things on here, okay? Number one, I need my name. Beautiful. Second thing is I need to label my grid. Remember how we have our number and letter system in order to keep us organized. So when I do this, I want to make sure that I have it so I can read it, and it's in this border section on the outside. Okay, so if I do letters across the top, D, E, F, G, I want to make sure I have letters across the top on my image here, so then they match. And then I'll have my numbers match as well. Now, sometimes you may find it easier or a little handier to have your numbers and letters on both sides. So if I did numbers and then I wrote my numbers over here and then my letters up here and then I also wrote them on the bottom, that can be helpful sometimes in order to sort of gauge where you are at really quickly, but it is not necessary. So once I have it, so then my grids match. Okay, notice how the squares are the same size, the letters and numbers are all lined up. So that means I am good to get started with my grid drawing now. So let me know if you have any other questions, and hope this video helped.